Hi there, Malcolm here with my 200th BookTube video. Who'd have thought it, eh? 200 videos talking about books. Blimey! And you're still watching? What's wrong with you? Well, anyway, this time I'm talking about my book of the month, or other books of the month, which are the new Marvel What Ifs. What If Loki Was Worthy by Madeleine Roux, and What If Wanda Maximoff and Peter Parker Were Siblings. Quite a bit of a title, that one, by Shauna Maguire. I am a sucker for what if stories. I love the Star Wars Infinity what ifs. I love the Marvel what if TV series, animated TV series we've had at Disney Plus. And I've literally just finished reading the Aliens what if, which I'll find out about in my October wrap-up video, which I'll probably film in February or something. Anyway, so 2 books to get through. Let's get cracking. So start off, What If Loki Was Worthy? Basically, Thor and the Warriors 3 go somewhere, but Loki gets involved and they end up on Earth with the Destroyer, which then completely goes haywire, resulting in Thor's death. And it's Loki who gets exiled to Earth. So it's a sort of role reversal from the original Thor movie, and we have a powerless Loki on Earth, and events unfold in a different way due to the involvement of other characters from the Marvel Universe. Now, to start off with, this isn't an MCU book. It's based on the Marvel Universe in general, not the MCU one. However, this does feel very MCU. The Loki in here is very Tom Hiddleston. The things he says, the way he says them, felt very Tom Hiddleston. And the other characters in this book felt like the way the actors from the MCU portrayed them in those films. For example, Tony Stark is in this, and he does feel like Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Tony Stark. And I can say the same for all the other Marvel characters who you may know from the MCU. So it does really feel MCU related, even though it's not. And yeah, it's a really interesting take on the direction that this goes. There is a overarching plot throughout the What If series as well, apparently. You get a couple of very brief tastes of some wider plot, but you don't know who or what. Probably Mephisto. It's always Mephisto, isn't it? I honestly don't know. I really, really enjoyed this. And the front cover is a little bit spoilery if you pay attention to it too much. But we have Loki wielding the hammer, which kind of answers the question. It's a journey he goes on to be able to carry this hammer. And Valkyrie. It's a different Valkyrie to the one from the MCU, but feels like the same one, to be honest. Fighting off against the Destroyer with an Iron Man mini reactor in the centre of his chest, which might give you an idea of who the main villain is in this story. I say it's a little bit spoilerish, but if you pay attention to the front cover, then you'd worked it out anyway. Really cool. Yeah, can't say much more without giving away too much more of that, but highly recommend this. Great if you like the MCU, great if you like the comics, if you like the characters. Certainly great for Loki fans. And I say, if you're Tom Hiddleston fans, he does feel a lot like Tom Hiddleston. At least I thought so anyway. Fantastic. Right, on to the next one. Wanda Maximoff and Peter Parker being siblings. Alright, the other one worked really well because it felt a lot like the MCU. This one worked really well because it doesn't feel like the MCU. And the reason for that is, obviously, it features Spider-Man, who, in the MCU, has been portrayed by 3 different people. We also have Quicksilver, who in the MCU has been portrayed by 2 different people. And most of the story follows a Wanda Maximoff who is in her teens. It basically follows their childhood up to current events of mid to late teens, really, maybe even early 20s. And so it's a much, much younger Wanda than even the ones we have from Age of Ultron. And so didn't feel very Elizabeth Olsen, but it wasn't meant to. And so it did help not having that weird association with who's on screen. However, Doctor Strange is very Benedict Cumberbatch. But eventually, in this, events unfold that sees Peter's parents adopting Wanda Maximoff. There's no sign of Petra. They know there was another child, but there was no sign of him, and due to these weird events. And I learnt about the High Evolutionaries' involvement in all that, which I didn't know about, because that's obviously not in the MCU. But I thought, oh, that's an interesting development. Is that anything to do with the first book? But then I started reading the Marvel Select Wanda Maximoff, not Loki's pointy stick. So it's like, okay. But I learned something. Anyway, I digress. Where was I? Yeah, so they end up adopting Wanda, and then canonically dying, leaving Uncle Ben and Nancy May to raise 2 children who grew up together. And yes, Peter is still bitten by the spider, and Wanda's latent powers start coming into fruition, causing some issues. And this is very much told in a sort of days of their lives sort of way, as we start off with a big bad thing happening, and Wanda is very much placed in the middle of it, and a finger of blame is pointed in her direction. However, she couldn't possibly have done it because of, and then we flash back to the adoption, their childhood, and all the events leading up to what actually did happen. I forgot to mention, in both books there is an introduction in the same way that the TV series does, with a watcher giving you the introduction, and at the end of the book it reveals who that watcher is. I'm not going to tell you because of spoilers, and the character continues off being this one, and unlike in this one where you have it at the beginning as the introduction, the character, the watcher, features throughout the story as they jump from point to point in Wanda's life. So there's a lot more involvement in the narrator of the story, if you like. And they also have post-credit scenes. You know, after the acknowledgements and all the rest of it, there's a little bit at the back of the book continuing the story as well. So post-credit scenes in books, lovely. Because we jump between the main story and the narrator, and the story itself has a time jump between various main events of their lives, it felt, by very definition, very disjointed. And I think on the whole I enjoyed Loki more because it was a more coherent plot, but it's still a really, really interesting story, which took some very interesting turns. I'll say booktastic again. Now, at a pinch, I would say Loki was the better book of the two from my point of view, but they were both really, really good. I really enjoyed them both, and very much looking forward to the next What If. What if Mark Spector, Moon Knight, it has the Venom symbiote or something like that. So Moon Knight is Venom. Ooh. So have you read What If? Do you like What If stories? Did you read either of those? Do you have a preference? Which Marvel character would you like to see in a What If story that you haven't already necessarily? Comments down below, please. As usual, if you have nothing nice to say, then please keep it to yourself. Thank you, and until next time, see you later.